please get the video cameras to focus in on that picture, because that's about 10 years ago. So I know what you must be thinking, that anybody who has Archbishop Desmond Tutu as an opening act must be quite a big deal. And given that my wife and my two daughters, especially my 14-year-old daughter, are not here to confirm or deny, I want to confirm to you that I kind of am a big deal. I have not won a Nobel Prize, but I have had dinner with Oprah and Gail at the same time. I have not done anything that's particularly world-changing, but when I was in college, I threw eggs at the South African ambassador's house when we found out where he lived. And I haven't won the Gandhi Prize for Peace, but I work with a lot of really cool clients, some of whom have won the Gandhi Prize for Peace. Kidding aside, the only reason that I would ask that you pay attention to me just for a few minutes is I am the poster child for the United Way. And by that I mean this. My mother, her father died when she was 5 years old in the middle of the Great Depression, and because he had no health insurance, they immediately went on welfare until such time as her mother died from a botched mastectomy done by a police doctor, because no doctor in Rochester, New York would take an indigent person on for a mastectomy. Then my mother entered a foster system until she became of age and worked in Rochester for a while, and then had this wild idea that she wanted to toss her life behind her and move to Hawaii. So she scraped up all of her money, moved to Hawaii, and met this sailor on her second day in Hawaii. A sailor who, after 3 dates and about 6 months of letter writing, she decided she was going to marry. Became my dad. My dad, whose mother ran away when he was 3 years old, and whose father died of tuberculosis when he was 5, is also a product of the foster care system and the welfare state. They got together and they had 4 kids, all of whom got their college degrees. The greatest achievement of my life is that I'm the first one in my entire lineage on both sides to get a college degree. It was in electrical engineering, which is a whole different story, but in 1980, that was a big deal. So we talk about the American dream a lot, but none of us got here. There were many times when the Toliver lineage could have ended, when the Smida lineage could have ended, if not for the fact that there was a helping hand out there to help my father and mother get an education, to help my father and mother get basic health care, to help my father and mother have basic shelter. So I'm a big believer in the American dream, but I'm also a big believer that the American dream doesn't mandate that you can't have some help along the way. And so I'm very honored to stand up in front of this group of folks today as the people that have been an incredible help to so many people for so many years. I want to talk today about the moral obligations of a movement leader, because I use the word moral intentionally, because nowadays when you choose to stand in the breach between people who desperately need help and people who can provide that help, your success, your excellence isn't just a matter of business necessity, it's a moral necessity. If United Way is not successful, people will die. If United Way is not successful, people will not have a future. And so I hope that everybody understands that the bar has been raised very high. I'm sure you do. I love this quote from Linus, who was a Roman general. There is no heavier burden than that of a great potential. The potential at United Way is immense. Nobody has better connections with the community's needs and the power brokers within that community. Nobody has a better opportunity to judge the best strategies to help their communities than you guys. The potential is immense. And the burden is immense as well. You guys used to be the safety net, and in a way, as amazing as that is, in many respects, it's sort of a step and repeat process. You guys had every finger and every toe and every hole in the dike in our society, but at the end of the day, it wasn't necessarily instituting change. Now, let me tell you how important the United Way is to me. When I got my chance to go to college, the one thing I was sure of is I was going to put as much distance between me and the boogeyman as I possibly could, financially and otherwise, so I would never have to be reliant on the state or the welfare system or anything else to be successful and to have a go at life. Then I had this kid, this daughter, and we found out when she was 18 months she had this very bizarre birth defect called Stickler syndrome, and she's going deaf and blind. Now, I could fly her to the National Institutes of Health. I could do all kinds of things. I had the means to do that. And what was amazing to me is, from Children's Hospital to United Way agencies. And when I think about that safety net, I thought that safety net was a whole lot farther beneath me than it actually was. Because we couldn't learn sign language unless we were working with the United Way agency. We couldn't get help doing assistance programs through education unless we were working with United Way agencies. So no, you've been a very important part of my life. But it's also the case that if you were to summarize United Way's stance in the world, it could be something like this. It's really nice to be nice to the nice. Or taking the thought out of giving. I decided not to put donating for dummies up there, but you've heard it before. In a sense, it's one of those things that the very fact that you've been able to raise billions of dollars, in a way, it's also allowed us, regular old folks, to kind of shut ourselves off from what's really going on around us, throw the cash at United Way, and let them sort it out. And United Way's job, in many respects, was to take that peanut butter and spread it as thinly as you possibly could on as many pieces of bread as you could get your hands around, and there's what we say, good enough. Today, it's a very different world. You went from being the safety net to the tip of the spear. You are the place where change can happen. And when I think about the kinds of taglines you can put around that, you're declaring some things. You have the courage to fight. You have the obligation to lead. And as I said, you have to. You're the people who best understand what's real in your community. You're the people who best understand who are the power brokers, who needs help, how to choreograph and convene a response. You are those people. You are the people you've been waiting for, to coin the phrase. And so I'm just immensely privileged to be standing up here at this momentous time in United Way's history, because you are stepping in the breach at a time that our country and the world desperately needs more people to step in the breach. So, you know, when you look at the United Way campaign, Live United, that's a really interesting phrase. It's a very cool campaign. Love the t-shirts. Although, when I spoke in Jacksonville, they gave me a t-shirt and it was size medium. And let me just say, Desmond Tutu's t-shirt had to be a double XL at least. I saw him dancing off with it. So, the thing is, your brand is clever. It's smart. But it is so much more than just a communications campaign. Your brand is drawing a line in the sand. Your brand is declaring a moral obligation to act. And because of that, it turns your previous operating model on its ear. It puts you in a position to be a true leader, not just a convener of resources. It demands the discipline to make very hard decisions, which I don't think is something that United Way has a great amount of history and experience in. To decide, if it ain't about the three things that you discussed yesterday, we're not going to take it on.